Chair. Quite a simple report from ourselves today with Audit Wales. This is a report we put together annually, which summarises the work. So as you go through it, no sort of new figures or findings in there, which is positive. And it just says the sort of work we've got ongoing. The final draft of the set of wellbeing objectives that's currently with our publishing and translation. It's been through sort of draft clearance that'll be coming through imminently in the sort of planned work for 24-25 towards the bottom of the report. And then the targeted high risk of prevention. I was involved in interviews for this last week, so hopefully that'll be coming through in the next couple of months as well, which means then all of the programme that's been issued on plans for North Wales Fire and Rescue Service will be delivered locally. So in this report, you can see we've covered our findings from a clean bill of health on the audit of accounts, no issues in our proper arrangements, duties to sort of report by exception from our performance audit work. And we've also flagged some national reports that we think may be of interest to members, just to make sure that everyone's aware of reports that have been out over the last year. As Helen said, we are now currently as well starting to look at our planning for our 25-26 audit programme for performance audit, as well as planning for the accounts for 24-25. So both those are sort of kicking off. In terms of the accounts planning, nothing unusual or different to any other year at this stage, and we'll hopefully be bringing that plan to confirm the areas of risk in the financial statements through it to the committee, usually around sort of June time. That tends to be, I think, in recent years. But in terms of performance audit, as I'm sure members will appreciate, probably the range of risks facing the authority is changing. And I think for the past number of years, we've had a national programme set really where we've looked at some of the themes on the national priorities, like prevention and false alarms, and going back before my time then, it was following sort of national framework in terms of what we've got in the programme. But where we are, what we're hoping to do over the next few months is a bit more of a sort of detailed approach to our and formalising our planning a little bit locally with the North Wales Fire and Rescue Authority to make sure we're picking up the right risks locally. It is something we've done at quite a high level in the past, but it's something we're putting a bit more resources to, given the change in risk environment currently at all the fire and rescue authorities. That's I'll stop there for any questions if that's okay, Chair.
Okay, Giacomo, thank you. Before I just go to questions, obviously we've got a small team, but they're great. But I know they're very busy. So can I just ask how the forward work programme is done with yourselves and the team at North Wales Fire, and to make sure they can fit it in with their work programme, because I am mindful of the amount of work they've got, etc. You can just talk me through that, then I'll take any questions. Giacomo, thank you.
Absolutely. This is a conversation Helen and I had, I think, a week or two ago, as we were sort of starting to communicate about doing the risk assessment. I think what we're going to try and do, even with that, is almost push it into 2 tranches. I discussed that with the team. I think we should be able to do that, where there are some necessary pieces, largely around document review. So the document should be in place. We hope it won't be overly cumbersome then for officers to provide us with documents that already exist. It's just collecting them together and sending them over, and we'll use that then for the majority of our planning for next year. In any case, then sometimes we do try and supplement that then with a couple of interviews to put some meat on the bones of the documents, bring them to life a little bit. And these tend to be a sort of hour and a half of an individual's time, so hopefully not overly burdensome again on any one individual. But we are going to try and limit that in the window, because we appreciate the commitment that officers have shown to help us get the setting of wellbeing objectives work and targeted high prevention both quite close together in terms of the ask we've had of officers' time. So we are conscious of that. In terms of our risk assessment, one thing I did forget to mention, which is why in the past we tended not to formalise it, is there's no planned output or report, but we will report by exception. So if we do see something that we think needs to be brought to members' attention, we'll raise that. But unless something is really brought to our attention as urgent, it'll inform our work programme. We will do projects then, and that's where members will see the output more. So there won't be a report on the back of our risk assessment work.
Okay, Giacomo, and Helen, that's going okay? You're happy with that?
Absolutely, Chair. From our perspective, undertaking that risk assessment to ensure that the work that's undertaken by Audit Wales is both proportionate and targeted is a good thing. So we also welcome Carwyn's assurance that they'll work with us in terms of timescales, because April, May is quite a busy period for us. So thank you.
Okay, yeah, and I know that, and I hope you didn't mind me asking the question going, but it sounds that's in hand and a sensible approach. Okay, and I believe the recommendation is for us just to note, but I will take, is there any questions before I go further? Okay, okay, David, please, Giacomo, David.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Carwyn sy'n dall Cymraeg, dweud. Just, sorry, rwy'n ffonio fi. Mae'r sefyllfa efo'r archwilio'r cyfrifon, mae wedi bod yn dda iawn dros y blynyddoedd a blwyddyn dwytha hefyd gweitha'r trosiant staff mewnol a rhywfaint o bobl newydd ar ochr Archwilio Cymru. Da ni wedi llwyddo i gael yr cyfrifon allan ar amser a wedi archwilio ar amser, sy'n rhywbeth sy'n wir obeithio fel 151 i hynny barhau. Dwi'n gobeithio fedra ni gael blaenoriaeth gennych chi os da ni'n llwyddo eto i gael y cyfrifon allan yn eitha cynnar, achos mae'n gret gan o allan o ffordd i gael canolbwyntio ar y gwaith mwy gwerth am arian. Ac mi fedrwch chi helpu ni tuag at hynny hefyd. Wedyn, hynny'n un peth, ac just edrych ymlaen at y cydweithrediad yna, a efo'r gwaith wrth symud ymlaen ar y gwerth am arian a'r cyfweliad yna, dwi'n meddwl bod y fi di'r 151 nominally, ond mewn rôl consultant bron, a mae Helen yn cyflawni rhywfaint o'r rôl yna, so os gawn ni gyflawni'r cyfweliad yna ar y cyd, fysa yn siwtio ni.
Sorry, just yn cymryd nodyn fyna. Ie, o ran amserlen, dwi'n meddwl bod newyddion da eto, bod ni'n gallu gwneud hyn o bach o waith cynllunio leni cyn diwedd y flwyddyn. Dwi'n meddwl oedd staff yn cyrraedd yr archwiliad blwyddyn diwetha tua wythnos cyntaf Gorffennaf, a y ffail bron o bod yn wag gen ni ar y pwynt hynny. Leni gennym ni amser i wneud peth o'r gwaith cynllunio o flaen llaw, fydd yn helpu gorffen yn gynt eto a dod ar amserlen yna ymlaen. A o'n gwaith cynllunio ni ar y funud, ni'n disgwyl fydd staff yn cychwyn yr archwiliad yn ganol Mehefin, rhyw bythefnos yn gynt na llynedd. So, a mae hwnna bach o effaith sy'n compoundio hefyd wrth i'r blynyddoedd yna i ddigwydd o ran wrth i ni gychwyn yn gynt a gorffen yn gynt. Mae'n helpu'r flwyddyn ar ôl ni hefyd. So, gyda'r awdurdod tân a y raglen cenedlaethol o waith, fi'n meddwl bod hwnna'n siapio i fod mewn lle reit iach, a y bwriad yw bod pob dim nôl i'r normal erbyn blwyddyn nesaf wedyn ni. So, ni'n bles iawn gyda'r amserlen hefyd, a gyda'r newid o staff a'r gwacter oedd yn y tîm, llynedd rili edrych mlaen i gael elgan yna ar gyfer archwilio'r cyfan eleni, a fi'n meddwl fydd yna'n gwneud gwahaniaeth eto i'r speed allan ni orffen gyda. O ran y cyfweliad gyda sicrwydd y risg, fi'n siŵr bod hwnna'n bosib iawn. Gewn ni weld sut yw'r lle gorau amserlen hwnna, fel ni sôn, jyst gyda'r gwaith sy'n ofynnol a'r swyddogion ar y funud, ond trwy'n cyfarfod gyda Helen yn rheolaidd, wrth i ni wneud hynny, fi'n siŵr allan ni drefnu bod ni'n cyfweld ar y cyd.
Gwych, ac ie, mae'n heriol i elgan ar tîm cyllid yn y tymor byr, ond yn well i bawb yn y pen draw os da ni'n gallu cael yr amserlen bu yna. Diolch yn fawr, a dwi'n meddwl fel cyd-destun i'r aelodau, dwi'n meddwl bod deg deud bod y sefyllfa dros y ffin yn Lloegr yn llawer iawn mwy anrhefnus, a bod nifer o gyfrifon heb i archwilio flwyddyn dwytha'n dal i fod, felly tra da ni rhyw 8 mis ar ôl cael y seil bendith, wedyn da ni mewn lle da efo'r business as usual y cyfrifon beth bynnag.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thanks for that. Okay, I think we're okay. So we're just going to note. So can members just indicate they're happy just to note, please? A show of hands. Okay, no one strongly against. Okay, thanks for that, Carwyn. Giacomo, thank you. Look forward to working with you. And it looks like we're in front, which is good. And we know some organisations are struggling with timings, as noted. So I will now go back to item was, and Haddad, are you okay now, Giacomo?
Can you hear me now? Yay.
Yay.
Phew.
Loud and clear. So,
I'm not very good at the IT.
That's fine. It happens a lot. So thanks for that. And over to you, Giacomo. Thank you.
Thank you, diolch yn fawr. So first one from me is the progress report. So this progress report covers the work undertaken between the 1st of December 2024 to the 28th of February 2025. So since the last audit committee, we have undertaken preparation work for the National Fraud Initiative and an initial review of the data matches. Further work will be undertaken as part of the 25-26 internal audit plan, which you'll see later on. We have also attended and provided support at the budget scrutiny meetings, and in terms of work in progress, the risk management review is in field work and our follow-up work is in the process of being completed, and you will see a report at the next audit committee in June. The progress report also provides an update in relation to the global internal audit standards. The new standards will come into force in April 2025. We're not quite there just yet. Given MIA's current full compliance with the public sector internal audit standards, we comply with the majority of the GIIS requirements. We will ensure full compliance of all of these new requirements from April. The progress report also includes details of our upcoming events and latest briefings that are made available, and happy to take any further questions. Mwy na hapus I cymryd unrhyw cwestiynau a diolch yn fawr.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thank you for that. And I will go to any questions, but it's obviously going through it. There's a lot of greens, which is amazing. And as mentioned, it's a new team, so I know we are here to scrutinise, but also we're here to say well done when needed. So it's a good report to read, and to see that many greens is a real comfort, especially with a new team. So well done, everyone.
Diolch.
Oh. Okay, any questions, please? Okay, Helen, would you like to come in, please?
Yes, just very briefly, really. Firstly, to thank Harrod and the team. So the audits are progressing really, really well, very timely. But also to encourage members of the audit committee to participate in any of the workshops that Mersey do offer, because I've definitely attended a couple, and it's really important both in terms of knowledge and understanding, but always that forward look as well. So I know that Lisa does share the emails as they come in, but if anybody's got any difficulty on booking onto those, please link with us and we'll facilitate that for you. Thank you.
Okay, that's really good. Can I just check, are you doing one on fraud? I know there's been some fraud ones being offered. Apologies if I've missed it, and I just wondered if we are, because I do know it's something we did say we were going to do.
There'll be a new calendar coming out for 25-26, and I'm sure fraud will be on there, but I will check.
If you can, I think that's quite important, and I think we did mention that we would. So that's great, Giacomo. Thank you. Okay, members, any questions, please? Okay, everyone happy? David, are you okay?
Yeah, diolch Cadeirydd. As you said, lots of green on there, which is a good, well, it's a good report for our officers, showing they're doing their work properly, and thanks to Angharad and the audit team for giving us the coverage, which I think it is presented nicely, and we're looking in a good place once again.
Yeah, no, it's easy to read document, a lot of work gone into it, and as I say, plenty of positives within there. So if there's no questions, I will go to the recommendation, which is item 1. Note the work undertaken by MIAA during 24-25, and note the work finalised between 1st of December 2023 to 29th of February 2025. So if we're all happy, can we just show, please? Look about. Okay, no one against, no abstentions, so that's okay. Thank you. Are we on item 9 now? Because we skipped about a bit. Item 9. Is that yourself again?
I think it's the forward plan for next year, Angharad.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is the draft internal audit plan for 25-26. This will covers the work undertaken to put this together, includes the risk assessment, which includes the local and national risks, and we have engaged with members of the senior leadership team as part of that process as well. So I would just like to signpost you to section 6, which also sets out what we propose to look at as part of the 25-26. And they have all got the rationale as to why they've been included within the plan. Appendix A also sets up the 3-year strategic internal audit plan. An extract of the plan has been provided to the audit committee for translation purposes because of the diagrams that are included in the full copy. And I am looking for approval of the plan today, please. Mwy'n hapus I cymryd unrhyw cwestiynau a diolch yn fawr unwaith eto.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Before I go to recommendation, is there any questions, or would Helen and David like to come in, or can I go straight to? Okay, David, diolch yn fawr.
Yeah, diolch Chair. Angharad, just looking at the plan, I think it's page 24, well, 26 of the pack, which shows the plan for the year. I'm not sure how many days are there for each of those sort of projects. I'm just wondering on I know the Chair might disagree with me on this, but I think we called you in to the budget scrutiny meetings initially, and you've sat through, I think, 2 cycles of that. I'm just wondering if it's the best use of a finite resource for you to sit in those for another cycle, or perhaps could be just on call to look at something should the scrutiny group wish to call you in.
Okay, so there's 5 days allocated to that. Out of 70 days are included in the plan altogether, so it's not much really in terms of a chunk of time. So it's up to you to decide whether you want me there or not.
I think when we say we disagree, I think at the beginning, David, it was a good process. It was a new process. I think we're going to touch on it at the end of this meeting about that carrying on, but I'm flexible. So I don't know if Helen's got a view. I think at some point being able to bounce off the work with that independent view is helpful, but I'm not rigid on the 5 days. Helen, please jog about.
Thank you, Chair. I can see merits in both approaches. The one thing I would say is, as part of budget scrutiny, we're going to be, I suppose, introducing our new business case models for both revenue and capital spend. So perhaps we've got an option either for internal audit to attend the budget scrutiny, or alternatively to use the 5 days looking at the budget business case process outside of budget scrutiny.
Okay.
So I'm happy with either approach.
So I think we leave the 5 days in, but we're flexible on them.
Yes.
And where they're used and utilised. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means the Chair and Treasurer are in full agreement, which is good. And it's a good point, and we want the time to be used well. So I think leaving it in there and using it as we need, is that okay, Angharad?
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Okay, and I don't think there's any questions, so I think we've just got to approve the work programme for 25-26 for the internal audit plan. So I'm happy with it. We have a show of hands, please. Okay, no one strongly against, that's okay. Diolch yn fawr, thank you. Okay, and diolch yn fawr, thank you for coming today to speak. And I think we are now on to item, are we on item 10, Helen? Just because we bounced about a bit.
I've lost count of which item, but I know it's the Treasury Management.
Item 10, Treasury Management. Okay, thank you very much. And is that yourself and Elgin?
That's me, Chair. So,
And you? Yeah, sorry, you're not.
I'll run you through this one.
All right, diolch yn fawr, thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, again, in a decent place with Treasury Management. Yn Gymraeg, gyfeithydd. Rheolus o Solus, adroddiad chwarterol yn rhoi'r wybodaeth ddiweddaraf am y cyfnod hyd at 31 Rhagfyr di hwn. Da ni chydig bach ar ôl hynny, ond na i ddiweddaru ar lafar rhywfaint yn wrth gyflwyno. Da ni yn statudol yn rhoi adroddiadau chwarterol, a mae hwn yn un o'r rheini. Ar i'r strategaeth am y flwyddyn ariannol 24-25 gael ei gyflwyno a'i gymeradwyo flwyddyn yn ôl. A mi fydd y strategaeth am y flwyddyn i ddod yn mynd i'r awdurdod nesaf, dwi'n credu. Am paragraff 5 yn rhoi yr crynodeb i chi bob pwrpas, yn ystod y chwarter dan sylw, hynny yw o'r 1 Hydref 24 hyd at 31 Rhagfyr 24, nath yr benthyca a buddsoddi'r awdurdod aros yn gyffyrddus o fewn terfynau ar eich i osod yn wreiddiol. Ond na ddim diffygion newydd gan fancia, no defaults, lle roedd yr awdurdod wedi adneu arian. Ac ymhellach, oedd incwm buddsoddi y llog dderbynwyd gwirioneddol yr awdurdod yn uwch na'r incwm llog oedd wedi ddisgwyl yn y gyllideb am 24-25. Felly, da ni mewn lle iawn, so ddim defaults, mae'r llog gwell na'r disgwyl, a mae paragraff 6 yn gofyn i chi nodi'r gweithgarwch a'r dangosyddion am y cyfnod. Yn y Gymraeg, mae'n deud 30 Rhagfyr 25, 31 Rhagfyr 24 di hwnna fod yn yr argymhelliad. Ond mae'r cyd-destun allanol wedyn yn sôn bod CPI wedi aros uwch ben targed Banc Lloegr, a tho i 2.6 yn Rhagfyr ar ôl bod yn 2.3% cyn hynny. A mi gododd CPI wedyn i 3% yn Ionawr 25. A di Banc Lloegr gadw'r cyfradd llog ar o mynd i 4.75 yn Rhagfyr, a lleihau eto, ar efo, lleihau eto i 4.5 yn Chwefror 25 ar ôl cyfnod yr adroddiad yma, ond mi na adolygiad eto dydd Iau wsos yma, mae'r Banc Lloegr yn cyfarfod i drafod eto, dwi'n meddwl. Dwi'n mynd disgwyl newid ydych hynny, ond cawn weld. Mae paragraff 12 tabl 1 o dan hynny yn cadarnhau bod benthyciadau net yr awdurdod yn is na'r gofyniad ariannu cyfalaf, dipyn go lew yn is yma. Ac mae'r sefyllfa ar 30 Rhagfyr yn tabl 2, a mae hwnna eto'n dangos cyfanswm benthyciadau gros bron yn 20 miliwn sydd yn gyffyrddus o fewn yr 28 miliwn oeddech chi wedi gosod fel eich afswm, ac mae hynny'n cynnwys cyfanswm buddsoddiadau netio'r 4.6 na off yr 20, a mae o'n dod i tua 15 miliwn o benthyciadau net. Dim newid arwyddocaol yn y sefyllfa hynny felly, ac mae paragraff 20 yn sôn am yr gweithgaredd benthyg cymerodd yr awdurdod benthyciad newydd tymor byr 5 miliwn gen awdurdod lleol arall yn Rhagfyr, a mae hwnnw i adalu'n Awst. Mae'r holl benthygiadau eraill, tymor byr efo'r PWB, a Llywodraeth yn yw, a sa'n angen benthygiad pellach tan mis Awst, ond os bydd symudiadau, mi fydd Arlyn Clwys yn cadw llygad ar hynny ac yn rhoi cyngor i ni os da ni eisiau symud yn sydyn i elw ar unrhyw gyfleon yn y cyfamser. Fel o'n i'n dweud, mae paragraff 27 yn dweud yma mae'r holl weithgareddau rheoli trysorlus ac yn halwyd yn ystod y chwarter wedi cydymffurfio ar strategaeth. Felly, aewch chi nôl i'r argymhelliad yn paragraff 6 i nodi'r gweithgaredd a'r dangosyddion am y cyfnod, plîs, Cadeirydd.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thanks for that. I'll just check if there's any questions from members. Councillor Jones, please. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Dafydd. Just allan o diddordeb, a dwi'n gwybod bod ti'n bell o fewn y limit wyt ti'n gael, ond ar yr ochr refinance risk, da ni'n edrych fel petai bod mwyafrif o'r benthygiadau, unau yn dod i ben o fewn blwyddyn, neu yn dod o ben i ben dros 10 mlynedd. Ydy hynna'n bolisi, neu ydy o bod ni'n just yn symud yn syth o'r less than 12 months yn syth i dros 10 mlynedd? Cos mae'na gap, mae'na ddim llawar, a dio ddim yn broblem, ond just allan o ddiddordeb, beth yw'r synhwyr o tu ôl iddo fo?
Swn i'n dweud bod o'n grand plan, Gareth. Dwi'n meddwl bod mae rhywfaint ddim yn accident of history, ond consequence of history yn herma ffordd mae'r interest rates a falle wedi symud dros amser. Ac yr arweiniad da ni'n gael gen Arlyn Clwys wedi bod yn gywir ac yn rhoi bendith i ni hyd yma, ydy beidio benthyg mwy tra mae cyfraddau llog wedi bod yn uchel yn y blynyddoedd diweddar. Falle sa'n ni wedi benthyg mwyn esmwytho'r proffil yna, ond tra oedd cost benthyg yn uchel yn arbennig dros y blynyddoedd pan oedd chwyddiant i fyny ac yn y blaen, doedd hi ddim yn amserol i ni benthyg mwy. Wedyn, mi fyddwn ni'n edrych ar hyn efo Arlyn Clwys pan ddaw yr angen i benthyg mwy erbyn mis Awst, dwi'n credu, ac yn trio cynllunio y proffil fel bod ni ddim yn hitio'r redemptions i gyd rhywun pryd.
Ie, diolch.
Okay, did you want to come in, Helen, on that?
No, thank you, Chair. I think David covered everything that I was going to cover. The £5 million taken out via the local authority was very much short term because the advice from Arlyn Clwys was that probably wasn't the most opportune time to be borrowing. So hopefully by August, we can smooth that debt.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so there's nothing, David, as Treasurer, giving you sleepless nights. We've had the recommendation, so just show of hands that we're all happy with that, please. Okay, no one strongly against. Okay, that's great, Jochen, thank you. And I believe we are now on agenda 11, Mark Morgan, payroll manager, please. Going through payroll benefits 25-26. Jochen, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to introduce the next three as a block. We've got payroll benefits. We've also got IFRS 16, which is quite a technical accounting requirement, then contract procedure rules. So I believe that Elgan is going to present all of these, but it's really important for the audit committee to recognise some of the work that goes on behind the scenes and actually provide that governance structure for us. So I'm going to hand over to Elgan. Thank you.
Okay, Jochen.
Definitely. So the first paper I'll go through is the payroll and benefit for 25-26. So the paper is just to give a bit of an update on the legislation that's changing from 6th of April 2026. Will there be a requirement for employers to report income tax and national insurance contribution For most benefits in kind, it's not all of them, in the real time on the full payment submission. So that's the monthly payroll submission we do to HMRC. Within North Wales Fire and Rescue Service, we've got 4 schemes that require the production of PLMDs, which are the benefit in kind. So they're outlined in paragraph 2. So they're blue light personal use vehicle, non-blue light personal use, physiotherapy, and Tusker car scheme, which is the car salary sacrifice scheme. The proposal is that we incrementally trial this from the 1st of April or the 6th of April 2025 to get ahead of the game before the legislation comes in April 2026. So just to give a bit of background, so annually at the end of the year, financial year, so normally April, May time, the finance team and the payroll team will collate and calculate benefit in kind calculations for approximately 60 employees and provide the benefit statement. We do this using a software license that costs approximately £700 per year. What we are hoping to do, so the legislation is coming in April 2026, what we're hoping to do is start trialling this from April 2025. That will mean that when staff take on new vehicles or have a benefit, the tax will then be paid the following month. So it gives employees as well a real life position of what's going on. We are hoping that this will reduce the sort of bulk of work that the team have to do in April and May time and sort of smooth that out across the year. So that supports the payroll team to be able to process these more efficiently as well. And it does also create simplified reporting to HMRC, where it's just a download from our system and sent into HMRC at the end of the year as well, just to capture all the transactions. This will be implemented by the payroll team in conjunction with PS Tax, who are our tax advisors, but also MHR as well, who is our payroll software system. So it's a piece of work that's ongoing across all organisations. And then finally, just from a communication piece as well, to keep staff informed, we'll make sure that there's ongoing communication going out to the weekly brief, and the staff in scope will be communicated to directly as well. So just looking back to the recommendation then, so it's to note the legislation changes and to support North Wales Fire and Rescue Service incrementally trialling the payroll benefits a year sooner in preparation for full implementation by April 2026. Yeah.
Okay, Giacomo, before I go to questions, just a quick one off me. When you talk about communication, which is really important, also staff understanding the financial implications early on, because it can be a bit of a shock, and I've been with staff when they've had a shock, and it is quite upsetting sometimes. So how are you going to just deal with that? Because obviously we have to deal with the new approach, but it is quite a big change, the monthly. So and if you get it wrong, put it right quickly as well. So just that element, please.
Yes, yeah. So we'll what's quite nice is we know who's in scope. It's we've got a list of all the staff. What we'll do is we'll start with the Tusker car schemes, which is probably one of the most one of the schemes that attracts the highest benefit in kind. So therefore, staff who sacrifice part of their salary in turn for a vehicle, when they take out the quote and they have the calculations for the vehicle at the start of the year, or whenever they do it, the calculation is quite clear what the benefit of kind tax is. But we will communicate with them to say, actually, instead of having the hit in months in May or April the following year, it'll be the monthly amounts every single month when the car goes live. But yeah, we'll make sure that staff understand it and what does it mean for them as well, yeah, especially those who need to do a tax return.
Yeah, and their allowance, getting that correct, because not everyone is the same, but you're on it, sound like. I'm going to go to Councillor Bryan and Councillor Gareth Jones. Diolch Brian. What a dot.
Good morning, Chair. Just asking a question on paragraph 7, where it says that they'll be testing the system on a small number of employees. I understand that process. Do the staff understand the process? And would you consider that there be any objections to being those selected employees? Thanks.
Yeah, so we're going to treat it as a bit of a project. So Mark, the payroll manager, will be linking in with the key stakeholders. He'll link in with some of the staff that have been impacted by this as well. The pilot we're going to start with is the Tesco lease car scheme. So there's approximately 4 or 5 staff that's impacted through that. So we will take any lessons learned from those 4 or 5 people and sort of bring them on board early as well to be able to have that communication. So we are treating this in sort of a project-y space, and by doing it 12 months early as well, it gives us that time to make the mistakes, learn from the process in order to be able to fully implement for April 2026.
Okay, and I think he was touching on, are they happy to be financial guinea pigs? I think was the question. Also, if you can just touch on that, please.
Okay, you want me to pick that up? I think the important thing to recognise is this doesn't alter the tax that people pay. It just alters the date at which they become aware. So I think in answer, or to provide that assurance, it means that they understand the financial implication of a decision much sooner. And I think that it's a really positive thing for staff, because there is nothing worse. And we do have a number of queries each year where people have something like physiotherapy. They might have it in the April, but they don't actually get the P11D until about June time the following year. So by which time they've forgotten about the physiotherapy, and it feels quite punitive. So on this occasion, what will happen is it will be deducted at source in the month that they have it. So that's a really positive thing for staff. I think key to this is taking people on that journey of understanding. So I think it's crucial that we convey to staff that they're not going to pay more tax, they just pay it at the right time.
Okay. Gareth, please.
Yeah, thanks, Elgan. I think the whole principle behind the thing is really positive in that, it avoids those shocks and big bills, really, doesn't it, Elgan? I just wondered, with the change in legislation with the double cab pickups, have we got staff that are going to be affected by that? And using that as an example, is the system going to be able to pre-warn staff as soon as this information comes out that there is going to be some major implications? Obviously, the small changing in bandings and things isn't going to make any difference, but sometimes where there's, like the changes with the double cab pickups, there's an opportunity for the staff to do something different before they're landed with some big bills.
I think that's both a very, very timely and a very astute question. I think the pickups is a really good example. So too are things like electric vehicles. So at the moment, it's very tax advantageous to take an electric vehicle, but that tax benefit, as it were, will wane over time. And I think what this enables us to do is both of the exception start of release is work with people to say this will be the tax consequence, but those shocks that come mid-lease will be able to work those through. Great example, because as it stands at the present time, tax rules will change, but the individual won't know for 13 or 14 months. So I think it's a really good example of how this will then feature through. To give you an assurance, though, I actually don't think that any of vehicles taxed are pickups at this stage, but it doesn't mean we won't have some in the future. But yeah, a really good example.
Yeah, and I think the point well made is that communication and sharing of information, so everyone's fully aware of the implications, because it can be a shock if it changes, as you say. Okay, Elga, would I just go through the recommendation again, please, and then I'll ask members to note.
To note the legislation changes and to support the incremental trialling of payrolling benefits over 25-26 financial year to prepare for full implementation for April 2026.
Okay. Can you show you're happy with that, please, members? Okay, everyone seems happy. No one strongly against. Okay, Joachim, thanks for that. Would you like to move on, please?
Thank you. So the next paper is IFRS 16 implementation for 24-25. So the purpose of the report is to provide members an update about the changes in international financial reporting standards, which will need to be implemented for 24-25 annual accounts. So the paper, I'll go through the recommendations afterwards. So IFRS 16 is a replacement of an old accounting standard, IAS 17. This is quite technical as well. So if there's any questions, please stop me as I go through it. I'm more happy to try and explain anything in the paper. Introduces changes to lease accounting and how it brings requiring lessees to recognise most leases on the balance sheet. It was brought in to make sure that private companies were reporting their balance sheets accurately. However, the knock-on effect is that public sector bodies are having to implement it as well. And it essentially means that right to use assets, so when we've got we can use an asset but don't necessarily own it, we have to treat it like we own it and put it onto the balance sheet. So the key changes under IFRS 16 is recognition of the lease on the balance sheet. All leases except for short-term leases and leases of low value below de minimis must be recognised on the balance sheet. Our implementation plan regarding IFRS 16, so we've got a full assessment underway to make sure that we've identified all existing leases and to ensure that we've got a sort of complete lease data. So the current systems and processes are being evaluated to determine if they've got a capability to handle the new requirements. So we're using Tech One, which is our ledger system, and the hope is that we can build IFRS 16 into the ledger. Unfortunately, we've not been able to do that for this financial year, so that will be done through an Excel spreadsheet with a view to move to Tech One and have an integrated asset system for 25-26. Training and guidance have been received for the finance team, so we've been on Cyfarfod webinars, Cyfarfod closed down. Audit Wales have also done a session, and there's a collaborative working between Welsh Government organisations as well to ensure that all the chief accountants are sort of up to speed and aware of what other bodies across Wales are doing. We've also utilised Cyfarfod Finance Advisory Network. So as a chartered accountant, we've got access to the Cyfarfod professional technical people. So any questions that are relatively technical and not clear in the guidance, we can go to Cyfarfod and they will provide us with an update on accounting rules. Paragraph 14 highlights the leases we have as of February 2025. This position is moving, so don't take this as final. And by the end of the year, we'll have a full list of all the leases, but it gives you sort of an idea of what we're looking at and the values as well. So within IFRS 16, it allows us to determine our own de minimis level for lease recognition. And following review with Cyfarfod and other local government organisation, the recommendation is to proceed with a de minimis level of £10,000. This helps us that we don't need to recognise low value leases on the balance sheet to help streamline the accounting process. And also the work involved in calculating the lease adjustments for these would be disproportionate to the benefits to the users of the accounts. Similarly, we also need to use discount rates as well to calculate the lease liability. On a similar line to the de minimis, we are proposing to use the Public Works Loan Board rate as of the 1st of April 2024 for any existing leases, and then any new leases that brings on board will be based on the Public Works Loan Board rate as of that date. So in conclusion then, IFRS 16 represents a significant shift in lease accounting. No doubt it'll be an area that will be heavily scrutinised by the auditors this year. But the benefit is it enhances transparency and makes comparing financial statements clearer and better for the users. We have taken a number of steps to make sure that internally staff are trained up to be able to do this adjustment as well, and we're engaging with the Cyfarfod and other chief accountants across Wales. Just going back to the recommendations, is to note the legislative changes for IFRS 16, approve the de minimis level of £10,000 for lease recognition, and approve the discount rates on the borrowing cost as of the 1st of April for the commencement of lease. Yeah.
Okay, Jock and Val, thank you. Okay, any questions, members? Brian, please, Jock and Val, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a small question on the de minimis level of 10,000. I've seen us over the years, we wipe out small debts, but never seen it debts of 10,000. So would you think that there'd be an effect on the public to see 10,000 being regarded as a, well, unmeaningful amount or immaterial amount? That's the question I've got.
So yeah, so the de minimis level is essentially a level that we decide to pick. So it can be we can dictate the limit. It's essentially anything below £10,000 still gets recognised, but not under IFRS 16. So we'll still do, it'll still show up on the account as a cost on the account. It just won't appear on the balance sheet. So it's more of a technical adjustments rather than sort of wiping out anything below £10,000. And it nicely links in with our capital de minimis as well. So anything under £10,000, we don't treat as capital.
Okay, just on that, because again, it's a good point. It's new, so good practice. What's everyone else doing, and how did we end up at that? Did you want to come in, Helen, on this just quickly?
I think I was probably just going to repeat what Elgan said. Really, you've got two options when you introduce something like this. You could work without a de minimis, but the difficulty with that is you would take something like a photocopier, which is it wouldn't cost anywhere near £10,000, and you're doing the same level of work for that as you would perhaps one of our buildings. And the reality is that therefore wouldn't necessarily enable the user of an account to have any greater insight. So if you take a photocopier, it still means we will still lease them. We will still recognise that lease in our accounts, but we don't treat it as a capital asset. And importantly, with a capital asset now under IFRS 16, it will form part of our prudential code as well. So it's how we treat it in our accounts. Take Councillor Brown-Apsley's point. We're not seeking to dismiss that spend or say that it's written off. It is very much how we account for it. It's a pragmatic approach that most organisations are doing. And more importantly, from your perspective, it will be subject to audit. So if we're out with anybody else's approach, or if we feel that we've set the de minimis too high, then that will be highlighted at that stage. But I'm reasonably confident, because we have linked in with treasurers, Cyfarfod, and other public sector bodies, that we're adopting a very similar approach.
Okay, that's good. Jock, thank you for that. David, please, Jock, David.
Ie, just i ddiolch i Elgan am y gwaith ar hwn. Mae IFRS 16, mae wedi bod yn hofran ers cyn Covid, dwi'n meddwl, fel rhywbeth mae cyrff cyfrifeg proffesiynol wedi bod yn bwgwth dod i fewn, lle. A cyfrifwyr ar draws bob maes wedi bod yn dweud, o god, da ni'n isio'r gwaith ar hyn, lle, ond maen nhw wedi rhoi o ffwrdd nifer o flynyddoedd. Ac o'r diwedd mae'n dod i frothu flwyddyn nesaf. Ac Elgan mond blwyddyn i fewn i'r swydd yn gorfod delio. Diolch iddo am fod gymryd o bull by the horns fel petai a mynd head on i ddelio fy hyn. Dwi'n meddwl bod yr trothwy 10,000, mae gennym ni wahanol trothwyon i wahanol bethau, a mae o'n addas i'r pwrpas yma, dwi'n credu. Ac dwi'n yn gweld hwn yn newid fawr ddim ar llawr gwlad o ran effeitholrwydd. Mae'n fwy o trio bod yn cyfrifo yn gyson ar draws cyrff ac yn y blaen. ac trio dod ar costa fewn i'r flwyddyn iawn a falle wedyn. Swn i'n cynghori chi i gefnogi'r adroddiad gyda diolch i Elgan aelodau.
Right, diolch yn fawr. Thanks for that. Yeah, and thanks for the recommendation. Can members please show that they're happy to note that, please? Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thank you. No one against, no abstentions. Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thank you. Okay. Just
back with me for the last one.
okay, the last item, and then we do have Helen's going to come in at the very end, so members just stay online. So item 13, diolch yn fawr. Thank you, Elgin.
Yeah. So the final paper is around the contract procedure rules, which have been updated for 2025. So the full CPR can be seen in the pack as well, but I will just go through the summary document. So the procurement manager has updated the CPR, which was last published in 2021, to align with Procurement Act 2023 that went live in, I think it was last month now, so went live last month. The CPR outlines our methodology for procuring goods, works and services, and sort of stipulates the rules to ensure that procurement procedures are efficient, transparent, and we're accountable. So the CPR have been updated to align with Procurement Act 2023, and the bulk of the document is based on our current CPR, which has just been tweaked to include provisions for the new guidance. And that essentially, to summarise it, is about how we improve social value, how do we procure locally, and how do we give back to the local economy and not procure sort of internationally. I'll come back to the recommendation. So in the summary document, I've got the key changes between the 2021 version and the 2025 draft version for approval today. One of the key notes is the changes to the threshold requiring quotations and tender. There's a table on paragraph 8 that outlines what the new values are. So all contracts require using a corporate purchasing agreement if available. That is frameworks, and a purchase order must be sent. So we operate a no PO, no pay policy. Any contract up to £30,000, so must obtain at least one quotation and be able to demonstrate advantageous offer. This was £10,000 back in 2021. And I suppose the proposal is that there should be a minimum of one quote. Internally, we'll still have the standard that the officers need to be able to demonstrate a most advantageous offer, and to do so you need more than one quote. So this will be something that the procurement manager will be working closely with staff as they procure. Anything above £30,000 up to £120,000 requires formal quotation through Sell to Wales if no framework is available. And anything over £120,000 up to the threshold. And the reason why we put the threshold in this, because there's different thresholds, depends on what you're purchasing, would need to be a tender via Sell to Wales. There's also several terminology changes within the CPR. So most economically advantageous tender has now been changed to most advantageous tender. So it's taken just looking at the pound and the cost of services back to how does that contract give back to the local economy, and then value for money is now referred to as most advantageous offer. The updated CPR also introduces provisions for planning, sustainable procurement and safeguarding, and as I mentioned, the emphasis on considering social, economic and environmental issues as well with tenders. There's been a couple of changes to the roles and responsibilities, because back in 2021, North Wales Fire and Rescue Authority didn't have a procurement team. Now, I said likely a team, we've now got a team in place. It's a one-man band at the minute, but there will be a procurement officer joining the team hopefully by the summertime. And we've also just modernised the CPR as well to make use of the latest technology. So we've got electronic submission for tenders now instead of sealed envelopes. So it's just been updated to reflect that. And then lastly, it's just a couple of minor wording and structural changes in it as well, just to improve clarity and consistency. Once approved, so today will go, hopefully it'll then be every 3 years, we'll have a formal review of the CPR, but the ACFO will continuously monitor as well, and with advice from the procurement team, any minor changes will be made throughout the years. And then just following from that as well, training session are currently being provided to all officers and their teams to make sure they are familiarised with changes from the Procurement Act 2023 and the updated CPR as well, to make sure that we are compliant. So just going back to the recommendation is to note the key changes and approval of the CPR, please. Yeah.
Okay, did you want to come in quickly, Helen?
Yes, just very briefly, just to provide assurance to members that we've worked collaboratively with both Mid and West Wales Fire and Rescue Service and also South Wales, because where possible, we collaborate and we procure jointly. That would include things like our PPE kit, our fire appliances, so for the big items. And the driving force behind this is that modernisation of the procurement to really drive out that social value. And to give you a couple of small examples, if we were to use or need some printing, it enables us to use a local firm where we would then be able to, I suppose, tease out that advantageous offer, and that might include things like, do they pay the real living wage? Do they provide training for staff? Do they provide apprenticeships? So it enables us to take a more holistic approach in procurement. Worth noting also that where we have a contract, it's over a 4-year period. So we assume, unless it's a one-off spend, we assume it's going to be over 4 years. So whilst £30,000 might seem very high, it's actually annual spend of about 7,500. So, but we're happy to take any queries.
Okay, Jock, I just a couple off me before I bring members in. So obviously this is really important we get it right. The community benefit side is really important, and we've just had it confirmed that we've got a small team. So I would hope in the future we can have a report on that community benefit as part of some process, because I think we need to see what that means and also celebrate where we get it well. So how are you going to collect that data and make sure we've got the capacity to collect it and deliver it in some format in the future is the question of me, and then I'll bring in Councillor Bryan to talk about.
Yeah, so something that we're acutely aware that needs doing, and we are trying to streamline and sort of align our processes to be able to capture this information. So what we have done within Technology One, which is our ledger, we've categorised all our suppliers into sort of micro businesses, up to large businesses, charities and government as well, so we can quickly export how much we spend with different type of businesses, but also where they're based. So we can quickly pull out, if I exclude any spend with the government, we can quickly pull out and have dashboards that over the last financial year, we spent about 21% of our expenditure within Wales, and of that 80% was in North Wales, and the majority of the other 78% was England based expenditure. So we are looking at reporting processes, how we can build that in. With the procurement officer that was approved at budget scrutiny last year through the budget setting process, they will be integral to supporting Jack, the procurement manager, in setting up these reports, but keeping them going as well. Within our big contract, there's also KPIs in them, and that those KPIs make sure that the living wage is being paid, that they are, as Helen said, using local apprenticeships, and talking about carbon as well. So we can start pulling that information together. So the aim is to have a dashboard with KPIs and we can start pulling out that sort of statistical information, but also there'll be a narrative bit in there as well to sort of show the work that's been done. And I suppose just to share with members, where possible, we are moving suppliers to within North Wales. So we've moved from a Liverpool-based supplier to Brill. We are now moving to Harlech Food instead of using Amazon, and using a tools and equipment supplies company based in Brill instead of using suppliers in England. So the work is taking place, but it's a good point in terms of how that's captured and then fed back. So we'll take that on board and see how we can do it.
Yeah, thanks for that. And you'll be able to do a report, maybe the performance review or whatever. We'll be able to have the harness, the background to this, Jock about. Okay, Councillor Bryan, please, Jock about.
Hi, Chair. Just a small point, attention to detail. I didn't see it when I was looking at the paperwork. The date on the audit committee is shown as 2024, number 13, item 13, and the previous one was shown as 27th of March 25. So just a little typos there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we'll note that. And any other questions, please? Okay, can I just ask one on the 30,000 one, and you've got value for money and one quote. So should it be two quotes to get value for money? It's just a question when you've got a comment saying about value for money and only one quote. So what you're thinking there? Should it be two? I'm just asking a question to test it. Jock about.
We've set it up in the way that so obviously having one quote is the minimum, and that is to support us when we do go through procurements. That is sometimes not possible to have more than one quote for certain specialised services. For example, the team have gone out recently for 3 quotes for something. Out of only 3 suppliers and only 2 responded. So the one quotation is the absolute minimum to align with the standard across Wales. But internally, we'll also they need to be able to demonstrate the most advantageous offer, and to be able to do that, you will need to have.
So where possible, you're agreeing it's more than one. I'm just mindful of making sure we minute that then. So if it's not specialised, you will go for 2 or more.
Yeah.
So we're happy to minute that. I think that's important. You're talking about more contracts coming locally. You mentioned 21% and more's coming. I think moving forward, some sort of target we can all buy in into. I think it's early on there, but it'd be good to understand what our ambitions are, because and I'm sure members, we fully endorse that where possible, and I think we need to get better than 21% where we can. But thanks for that. Any other question, please, members? Okay, David Giacomo, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I would support you your suggestion for minuting what Elgan says is to obtain more than one quote where possible. Will help to demonstrate that most advantageous offer. So yeah, I would think that's a sensible way forward, without restricting officers where that's not possible. And just looking at the next category up where between 30,000 and 120,000, obtaining formal quotations to sell to Wales. That's no small matter really. Helen might confirm this, but I think that's how I was initially sourced, and I filled in the sell to Wales. It's not insignificant, the amount of work that needs to go in to do that sort of tender. So I think quotations up to 30,000 is reasonable. And then the fact that we're going to 120 for a formal tender, that middle bracket between 30 and 120, it's not dismissive to say formal quotations through South Wales, because they're almost like an official tender, I think.
Okay. And just another point for ring Helen in, and thanks for that, Jokoval. I suppose the small firms up to 30, that we work with them to help them with the community benefit, and any measuring we request that we do support the smaller companies. So I can see Elgin agreeing with that. So I think that's worth noting also, because it's really important. We don't want to put anyone off. Jokoval, Helen, please.
Yeah, I think there's always making sure that we engage with organisations to help them through what I think previously they felt is a very bureaucratic process. I think also the use of frameworks, so making sure that if somebody else has already done the hard work and established the framework, that we jump onto that. Collaboratively with other public sector bodies, and we did so by way of, even on the larger contracts, we joined a framework that had been established by Cyngor Gwynedd. So I think for me it's very much having our own procurement officer who can build those networks across Wales and engage, and really make it as easy a process as possible for both suppliers joining us, but also for our staff seeking to go out to market, because it is actually quite a time-consuming and cumbersome process with staff. When they've got a job of work to do, they need somebody to do it, and actually it should be more straightforward for them. They've got that clarity, and sitting behind these contract procedure rules, we've got internal guidance documents, help and support to make sure that not only do we meet them in terms of the letter of the law, as it were, in terms of number of quotes, etc., but we get them through in spirit as well. And spirit for me is about making sure that we do, where possible, get the balance between the cost and the value, the social value, the carbon footprint, and bring it all together. And it is a step change for us. So I think bringing out reports to future audit committees is definitely something that is good for us, because it makes us reflect, but it's good for you as well, so you'll be able to see how we're moving it forward.
Yeah, and that way also the community can see the good work we're doing. So it's really important, and thanks for that commitment. Okay, you can just go through the recommendations again, please, Elgin, and then I'll go to members, and then there's one more item if members can just hold on, please.
Yeah, so it's to note the key changes in the CPR and recommend approval of the CPR, please.
Okay, Jokoval, members, so that you're happy with that. Okay, Jokoval, no one against. Okay, so that's been noted and approved. And I think you just wanted to come in at the end, Helen, just with a quick request and update, please.
Yes, we've got two items under any other business. I'll pick up one, and Elgin will probably pick up the second one. So the first one really is declarations of interest. As we move into our account preparation, one of the things that we have to do is we have to make sure that we pick up all related parties. So members should have received an email asking them to complete an electronic form confirming everything from interest in property, any directorships that you may have, and that just enables us to ensure that we capture any financial transactions for the purposes of the audit. So thank you to those who've already done it, and a gentle reminder, if you wouldn't mind, we'll send out an email. If you get an email from us asking you to do it, if you wouldn't mind jumping on that, probably will take you 10-15 minutes. But it was, if I recall, I think, Carwyn, it was an issue identified last year as part of the audit, that as we even approached the audit, so after we'd prepared the accounts, we were still struggling to get a few. So your help and support will be very, very, very much appreciated.
Okay, and what's the timing of that? Just so everyone understands, is that by
the end of March, if possible, please?
Yeah. Okay, Jokoval. Okay, well, if you can do an email nudging, I think we all want to make sure we do that. So Jokoval, and Helen, the other item we spoke about.
Second item really, just when you think that we've we've approved the budget, we're looking to final accounts. I'm now probably going to look to Elgan because we're now starting to look at, let me get the financial year 26-27. So it seems very, very premature, seems very, very early. But we're now thinking about budget scrutiny. So over to yourself, Elgan.
Yeah, Helen. Yes, so as we finish in this year, setting the budget for next year, and then we are now looking at, budget setting for 26-27. So last year, I'm conscious we had 5 budget scrutiny working group meetings. And I suppose I just want to take the opportunity before we start planning what we're going to do next in terms of the process, if people found those meetings beneficial, interesting, anything we could do to make it better, and sort of just open to sort of ideas and ways of moving forward to make us streamline as easy as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it was a worthwhile approach, and I think we've got better every year, and officers in charge of certain services coming forward and talking us through. It's really good to understand it better as well. It gives real scrutiny the process. So what's the request there, please, Helen? And then I'm going to just bring in our monitoring officer to make sure anything we approve is done properly, because I know we've done that last year. So Helen, what's the request, please?
The first ask is, would you like to run budget scrutiny working groups? If the answer to that is yes, the next ask is are you happy with 5? And we will plan them in probably from June, July through to probably November time.
Okay.
And if we run them, are we happy with the approach where it's 1 member from each local authority with a member in reserve to stand in if that person is
Okay,
unable
so
to
I'm
attend?
just going to go, if we want to take the same approach first, and if the answer is, I hope it's yes, I'll just touch with Gareth just to check we do that in a good way. So are members happy to carry on with the same approach with the budget working group, same as previous years? Just show your hands. Okay. No one strongly against. How do we formalise this properly, Gareth, please? Talking about.
Sorry, Chair, just trying to get the microphone button up. So Helen has already set out the principal constitution points for you in terms of 6 members, one per authority with 1 reserve. We would normally say that we would take volunteers on a first come first served basis and then go back to those members at that authority if we have more than we require. And other than that, I think we've covered everything off.
Okay. So the request to carry on as normal, that's enough, and we've just all voted that, and we'll carry on the same process as previous years. I don't need to do another vote on it, Gareth. Just the request to carry on is enough. Yeah. Okay, Giacomo, thank you. Okay, officers, a good meeting today. Thank you all. Thank you, members. I believe that's it now, Helen. And the relevant emails will come out regarding the budget working group. So thank you all. Have a good day. Giacomo, thank you.
Thank you. Take
All
care.
the best.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.